Alright, we're back. My last video, we wrapped up this header. In this video, we're going to be installing this header onto the Astra. We'll have a quick gaze of what we're dealing with here. So, with these Astras, we've got our intake at the front, our exhaust manifold down the back. As you can see there's the stock exhaust manifold. That's what we're going to be taking off today and putting our new one on. Let's go ahead, get this car up in the air and start ripping things out. So first thing you're going to want to rip out is the downpipe. So this is the downpipe that came stock with the car. To remove that, 3 bolts. That's where the O2 sensor was. You just unscrew that. There is my other O2 sensor, and then you just pull that out of the resonator at the back. Now, this does look a little bit strange, simply because the guy I bought this car from decided he would go ahead and cut the catalytic converter out. Bit of a dick move, because that's where the catalytic converter goes. He's cut that out and very poorly welded this on. He's also welded the sensor on. I cannot get that off. So I've had to go and get myself a new sensor in order to do this. That right there is what has sparked this entire exhaust overhaul. So I'm going to give you a look at the back of the engine now, just so you can see the bolts that we're working with. We come down the back here. So this is the stock exhaust manifold. There are the bolts there that we're going to be taking off. Now I haven't quite worked out what size they are yet, but what I have been doing is hitting them with some WD-40 over the last couple of days, just so that they're not a pain in the ass to take off, and they should come off nice and easy. Well, just measured her up. Looks like she's going to be a 13mm. Let's see how we go. Look at that. Nice and easy. Amazing a little bit WD-40 can do. Now I don't want to take them off at a time, so I'm going to loosen them all up before I start pulling them out. Well, we've got all the bolts out. It's got nothing else attached to it. The downpipe's out. It should, in one swift motion, come straight off. And hopefully we've got enough room to pull it straight out the top. There you have it. One stock manifold removed. This thing's not in bad condition. It's actually still pretty good. It's got quite a bit of weight to it, being cast iron. But let's compare this to our new one and make sure that we've got the right part. Alright, we've come back over to the workbench, aka my wife's camping table. This is the header that we've got from John Ashley Exhaust that we wrapped in our last video. This is the original manifold we've just pulled out. As you can see, holes all line up perfectly. Everything looks like it will fit. Really important, we just wanted to check and make sure that that's actually the case. I've also got here a new gasket that's going to go on, and that came courtesy of John Ashley as well. Here is the original gasket that came out. It's not in bad nick, it's actually in pretty good condition. It's the exact same gasket, but we've got a new one, so we'll use that. Well, we're just going to go down and have a look behind where we took the manifold off. What we're doing here is we're just looking for any damage, trying to see how dirty it is, how much of a clean it actually needs. And as you can see, it's not too dirty. It looks like there's no damage, so we'll give her a good wipe and we should just be able to chuck the gasket straight on and pop that manifold straight over. Next step in the process is just going to be a clean. So we're just going to clean up the back here where we took off the existing manifold. As you can see, it's quite gunky and dirty. We'll just grab a cloth, scrape off as much of that gunk as we can, and then we'll hit it with some degreaser once we've covered up all the exhaust holes. So I've given it a clean with the rag. It looks pretty good compared to what it did. First thing we're going to chuck on is our gasket. Do measure this up beforehand, make sure that you're actually putting it on the right way, else you're not going to stop much. Just a case of finding the holes. We all have problems with that, and popping it on. Now that that's in, let's see if we can just slide this one straight in the back here. Have to come around to the side. There we go. Oh, I find the holes again. Oh, look at that. Like a glove. Right, I'm just going to make sure all the bolts are in the right spot. Get her on nice and flush. Seal her up. So I'm just going to use the same bolts. They're in pretty good condition. Absolutely no need to go buy new ones. Same with the studs. They look pretty good. So I'm just going to put them on. Not even hand tight, just on to hold it all in place. And we can get this thing flush. Start securing it down. Righto, now I've got all the bolts on nice and finger tight. We're going to start sealing them up. We're going to use our number 13 again. May need an extension. What we want to do is start in the center so she gets nice and square on. From there, you can start working the same way you do a tyre, one corner to the other corner. You don't want to go too tight first up, just a little bit tight to get it all flush, and then do the final torque tighten at the end. Right, I've done my final checks. I'm pretty happy that that's on there snug. Now we're going to start tightening it up to torque spec. When I say torque spec, I mean you probably want a torque wrench for this. I have nothing but feel, so tight but not too tight is where you want it. pretty tight to torque spec. Good idea to come around once you've driven it and it's been hot and it's cooled down again. Come around and just double check those bolts, because they will come loose with the heat and the vibrations. That's good practice with any bolts or anything you do on your car. After your first drive, come back, wait for it to cool down, and double check everything's nice and tight. But well, that's the hardware installed. We're not done yet. Let's go under the car. So this is the view from underneath the car. You can see our header there. We have this little screw hole here. That is for our O2 sensor. Now, a little trick to installing these, because obviously they're connected to a wire, and you've got to screw it in there a couple of times. So what you want to do is actually twist this wire a couple of times anti-clockwise, so that when you tighten this up clockwise inside there, the wire then unravels, as opposed to twists when you go to tighten her up. Unfortunately, I couldn't do it holding my camera, because that is just quite tight spaces down here. Alright, now that we've got the sensor on, we'll just tighten her up, and then we can focus on the rest of the car. Now, this is the downpipe that John Ashley Exhaust sent me. That came with the header. There was a little bit of a debacle with the postage. It did get a little bit damaged during the postage, and I suspect a leak here, but I've done the smoke test and it's not coming out. So we're going to stick this on today, which will be essentially straight piping the car, which it already was. It is illegal, don't do it. I do have a catalytic converter. Once I organise that, I will get a welder. John Ashley did send me out another pipe free of charge because of the damage from the postage. So when that gets here, we will use that one to put on our catalytic converter and put it back in the car. But for now, so we can get this thing on the road, we're going to straight pipe it. So if we look down here, you'll see a connection straight ahead that has nothing on it. That is for our O2 sensor that goes at the back, which is called the downstream O2 sensor. I've got a new one of those. I'm just going to plug in and run it along the back so we can put it into the rear exhaust. Alright, we are here under the car. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our pipe, feed it into our resonator. If it's not a snug fit, you probably need to rethink a lot of things. Coming forward, you can see here, as that goes into the resonator, that's just going to line up there. We'll get a gasket and some bolts on that and do her all up. Alright, so we have our pipe connected with our 3 bolts, a gasket in between, and that's done up really nice and tight. That's leading back into the resonator. I have not bolted that on yet because I needed to be able to adjust it left and right. But now we'll go get that bolt there and get it clamped onto the resonator. Alright, so we've come back to the rear of the car. We've tightened up and bolted that down. Our front bit's bolted on. Header is bolted on. Everything seems to be in order. Now, we don't have a catalytic converter on here, we've just straight piped it, which again is illegal. Don't do that. But I do have one and I will attach it eventually. For now, we do need to get the O2 sensor in. Now my car's going to throw a code once I get this O2 sensor in and fire up, because there's no cap, and it's going to start whinging at me about emissions. What you can get is called an O2 trigger. This has a mini cat inside here,
and it creates space between the pipe and the sensor, tricking it into thinking that there's a catalytic converter there. Again, illegal, don't do this. But for a week or so, while we get our catalytic converter sorted out, that's what we're going to have to do. And there it is, once it's all hooked up. That is my makeshift cat for now. Like I said, we will get around to welding a cat onto there, probably in the next week or two.
Alrighty guys, well that's it, everything hooked up. The only thing I've done is now gone and put the original heat shield back on. A little bit of bending down the bottom just to get that to fit. 2 bolts, one there, one there. The reason that we're keeping this heat shield and not making our own is because that's pretty good, bolts are in the right place, fits nicely, and the idea is to get the heat out of the car. It doesn't look as pretty as having our nice wrapped headers, but it's going to do the job, and that's what we're here for. No one's going to be sitting here looking under my bonnet while I'm driving along, so it's practical and it works. Well, that wraps up our video for today, guys. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, leave them down in the comments. Again, I'm not a mechanic, very poorly mechanically minded, but if I can do something like this, then I'm pretty sure anyone can get around to doing it. If you do enjoy these sort of videos, do leave a like, maybe subscribe. It'll just let me know if I'll keep making these sort of videos or if I just need to give up and keep with my day job.